Christiana here for Card Player TV for another edition of Strategy, and I'm here with Scott Clements. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, today I figured we'd talk about PLO 8, one of your specialty games. Now, what's the biggest difference between playing PLO 8 in tournaments and playing PLO 8 in cash games?
I think it's the aggression factor. When I play PLO 8 cash games, I'm looking to push players off hands and try to really gamble actually quite a bit and really use my aggression to steal more chips than anything else. When I'm in a tournament, especially early, I'm really looking for survival. So I'm going to only play certain hands like they can really make the nuts one way or the other, preferably on the low end, preferably with other draws with it, but also playing much more timid pre-flop. I'm going to be a lot more limping in tournaments, where cash games I'm really going to be push, push, push.
Pre-flop in PLO 8, it seems like there's not a huge edge either way, no matter like what hand you have. So is that why pushing the aggression, if you guys have similar hand strengths, pushing the aggression is important?
Yes, I think that a lot of players are way too timid post-flop, especially if you're not playing super deep in the cash games. A lot of players will fold in a lot of situations where it's really profitable to call. So that's where if you raise enough pre-flop, you're going to give yourself much more chips to steal. Sure, sometimes they're going to flop the monsters and you're going to lose money, and it's a high variance type of play, but it's definitely a very profitable way to play, and that's why I do that in the cash games. But in tournaments, really, if you lose one hand, right, you're out. So you need to be much more careful, and that's why I try to really play timid, especially until I get the big stack. I mean, pretty much, unless I have the whole table covered, I'm going to play much tighter and let the others kind of control the aggression, and I'm going to just be counter aggressive when I actually do hit.
Okay. What other mistakes do you find beginning PLO players making in tournaments?
I'm just calling off on all the wrong type of hands, like maybe just calling with just a dry low draw, or just dry low on certain situations. A lot of people make a big mistake of, like, say they raise aces and the flop comes and they have ace king jack and it comes ace 5-8, and somebody like bets pot into them. They can't just fold the hand right there, where that's really you have to just fold right there because your hand is pretty much nothing at that point.
Okay.
So I think a lot of players make that big mistake of putting too much in on a one-way hand that's probably, like, that could be the nuts or very close to the nuts. But if there's low out there, if you don't have the low part of it, then they're just going to be free rolling on you, and when they do hit, you're bust. So it's really, you're drawing for the half of that initial pot, and you're paying like 10 times the pot with each pot size bet and pot size bet and pot size bet. The pot becomes so much bigger that you're losing so much more when you're only calling for that first half of that first pot.
Because that person could have a low draw and also an open-ended and
yeah, most of the time they're going to have they're not going to have a low draw, they're going to have a low made.
Oh, okay.
So like this is when it comes like all three low cards.
Gotcha.
So they're going to be free rolling on you. So you're only drawing to that half of I mean, you're not drawing to it, you have it, but you're drawing to keep it essentially. And then a lot of players just have a problem with like letting go of the aces when it's that flop. Like in limit, you're going to be able to call down because you're not going to go broke on it.
Right.
I mean, unless it's just like raise, re-raise, re-raise, then you just have to fold. But pretty much in pot limit, you have to be able to get rid of the big hands when there's other hands out there.
Well, how does it change if you're not heads up and there's a third player in the pot and you do either have the nut low or the nut high, but you don't have a redraw to the other half of the pot? How does that change when it's not heads up?
You still gotta fold. I mean, it's still like if it's bet pot and call, like, yeah, you're maybe gonna gain some value, and like you may play that in a cash game situation, but in a tournament situation, you still go bust if somebody hits their free roll on you. And it's more like, I mean, yeah, they're probably, maybe they both have nut low and maybe they have some of each other's outs, but it's just a high risk play to be doing when you can only get half the pot.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Scott.
No problem.
Christiana with Scott Clements for Card Player TV.